Space Jam 2. Yup, Space Jam 2. This film released a few weeks ago, and the online reaction has been, well, not mixed. It's been bad. Just bad. And that's not too surprising, right? Like, given the trailer, the marketing, the very concept of making a sequel to a 1996 film starring Michael Jordan and Bugs Bunny. This is all bad. And the final product is exactly what you'd expect. The writing is awful, the jokes almost never land, the plot and all it entails offers virtually nothing beyond the most cliche of cliches. But even with all this, with every fault of the film itself being a fault, I can't help but love it. To me, this is not a good film or a bad film. It's Space Jam 2. It's a beautiful concept, not just from the absurdity of its own existence, but the film itself. Space Jam 2 is everything that Space Jam 2 should have been. Space Jam 1, after all, isn't high art. It's not even lowbrow art. It's approximately a 1 hour and 40-minute advertisements for Warner Brothers and an NBA and Michael Jordan. But Space Jam 1 is a moment in time that everything comes together as a time capsule, a zeitgeist of a place and time we call the 1990s. When this film is referenced today, that's generally what people say about it. Well, it's a time capsule. It's not a good film. It just brings back the memories. The 90s charm of Wayne Knight following Michael Jordan, living in a suburban home, being kidnapped by the Looney Tunes, all the while helping the gang avoid slavery at the hands of Danny DeVito. It doesn't encapsulate everything of the 1990s. You won't find ska punk or skateboarding or Nintendo 64 or Seattle grunge. But it doesn't need to be. It just needs to be Space Jam. The NBA was huge in the 90s. Basketball was huge, and that's because of several reasons you probably don't care about. But Michael Jordan, this man, he's the face of the NBA for circa this year. There is a series of popular commercials that had Bugs and Michael selling stuff, and they sold stuff, and people liked the commercials. And any executive knew that Michael was big, and the Looney Tunes were being prepped for a major revival. So bringing them together, that made just about as much sense as any executive can make. The time capsule argument is what fascinates me the most, because we don't often associate the 90s with basketball or the Looney Tunes, not as much as all of this stuff, but more so it's the vibe of this film, its very existence, the inexplicable aura of Bill Murray running onto the court. This was the 1990s. But onto the sequel, Space Jam 2 More Jam. Even if it fails as a film on a commercial and critical level, I argue that it will be remembered in much the same way. That 20 years or 30 years from now, I think Space Jam 2 will be a time capsule for the before times, if you will, the here and now. This might seem odd or confusing at first, because this appears to be yet another studio revival of a film that didn't need revived. We have plenty of these. How is this special? The film opens in the fictional town of Akron, Ohio. LeBron is a child playing Bugs Bunny game on Game Boy. But he's supposed to be paying attention to the basketball. The coach doesn't like this and throws his Game Boy away. This creates a cynical monster inside LeBron that manifests several decades later. He's playing basketball, but his son doesn't like basketball. Instead, he wants to go to E3. He's gonna show off his new game. The game's about basketball. LeBron looks at it, and it crashes because the character does a move and it just explodes. LeBron isn't impressed by his son's inept game developer skills, and he says video games are stupid. Basketball is cool. Dab. LeBron has to go to Warner Brothers for some reason, and his son follows. Apparently, a rogue AI named Don Cheadle has new plans to increase revenue. He wants to take LeBron's likeness and import a .fbx mesh of LeBron into all the movies and low-budget mobile game ads. LeBron says no, so Don Cheadle kidnaps his son. Now LeBron has to go into the digital world. Don Cheadle sends him to the Looney Tunes, where Bugs Bunny is the only Looney Tune on Looney Tune Planet. After Bugs tries to reenact old sketches with him, he tells LeBron that all his friends left him because Don Cheadle. They get in a spaceship and travel all throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe to see what HBO Max has to offer for only $15 a month. They get all the Looney Tunes from this and then they gotta play basketball. Don Cheadle sends every Twitter follower of LeBron James into the digital world to watch the game for some reason. And if LeBron loses, everybody is stuck here forever, immortal, digitalized in the Warner Cinematic Universe. This is hell. So the Looney Tunes are playing against things, and then they lose. But it's just halftime. We get a big "you can do it" speech and find out Sylvester can't tell black people apart. This inspires the Looney Tunes to try harder, or something. Don Cheadle turns into Don Cheadle Requiem and plays basketball, and he cheats. But not enough to win the game, just enough to, I don't know, cheat a little bit. LeBron knows they can't win off of their own merit, so he wants to crash the game. Oh yeah, it's a game. It's his son's game from the beginning of the movie, but it's in real life. So he's gonna do the thing that crashed the game. He's gonna do that move. It's a reasonable plan because he's not digital, and if the game crashes, the world's just saved or whatever. But for some reason, Bugs decides he's gonna do it. He's gonna do a thing that LeBron could easily do and be unaffected by, but he's gonna do it himself, and he'll probably die in the process. So he does it. The Looney Tunes win. Don Cheadle is transformed into a piece of paper, and Bugs Bunny fucking dies. LeBron and son are transported into the real world, and LeBron's fake son gets to go to E3. That's Space Jam 2. There's a lot to dissect here. Now, I gotta give him credit. It was a bold move to have Bugs Bunny die at the end of Space Jam 2. Well, not just die, but commit suicide.
It's suicide. Suicide is badass.
It was also equally courageous to reuse assets from other films, like Ready Player One, and just rip these animation cells from the first Space Jam. But besides this, there's many things that make this a perfect zeitgeist of the times, including a cute side character that, for some reason, is in every movie. I guess it's supposed to sell merchandise, but who would ever want this in any form? You have all the terrible references and overdone tropes of properties that died a long time ago. Throughout the film, the primary theme is properties, intellectual properties. And if I had to define mass culture in this decade right now, this would be the thing, the properties. Major franchises that bring in the big bucks time and time again until they don't. But now we know that it's not enough to just have the properties and fictional characters that people have grown attached to. You need big names to put on the posters, the celebrity. Make them voice the claptrap. Make them voice the bunny. Outside this film, there's a lot of peak 2020 going on here. Think of this idea. Big pop culture icon partners with China in attempt to rake in cash. In response to insert controversy here, the public gets upset. Then China bans the thing and pop culture icon loses money anyway. If you didn't know, LeBron James is a big China. He loves other China. And guess what happened to Space Jam 2? And what I've listed so far could easily just be another shitty movie in the shitty movies of 2020, or whatever year it is right now. But you know what? I think this was all intentional. I think Space Jam 2 is some sort of meta fourth dimensional commentary on modern culture. The running theme throughout this film, the actual plot, involves Warner Brothers creating an AI to just shit out new films. This is in the movie. This is the movie. The idea is just throwing around franchises with no concern for creativity or anything else. The executives are out of touch, and at the end of the day, it's just about making a product with no real value. After this, we see every franchise shoot onto the screen, a final sputter of this machine going crazy. This all at a time when properties are losing that prestige that made them so valuable to begin with. The Iron Giant doesn't need to be the Iron Giant, he just needs to show up. Bugs Bunny isn't Bugs in this film, he's essentially a Mickey Mouse knockoff. He's a cardboard cutout whose value as a property is ironically destroyed in their use as a property. In the end, nothing can escape this burden. If you become too successful, you'll be milked until you're no longer successful. In the end, nothing can escape this burden. The only way out is true, certain death. And in this moment, I think Bugs Bunny realizes this. Win or lose, they are still a slave to the Warner machine. In this sense, he has become self-aware. To preserve his own legacy, he must end his life. This is Space Jam 2.
Everybody get up, it's time to slam now. We got the real jam going down. We're gonna do the Space Jam. It's your chance to dig up with the Space Jam.